Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that side of the hearing. Any councilors wishing to speak?
Mr. President.
Councilor Guanasso.
Mr. President, I had the pleasure of reviewing the proposal with the attorney, and I'm quite impressed with the project. It is, as the attorney stated, it was a 5-unit building prior, sometimes 6, but now it's being reduced to a 4-unit capacity. But that says the least of it. What's the best part of it is, Mr. President and members of the council, is that it gives the area an opportunity to go along what's happening on Temple Street, which I'm so proud of. We have the new Pace Center. We have many properties that have been built up on Temple Street and in Douglas, and they're revitalizing the whole area, and they're making it quite nice. And to say the least, I'm very proud of the area, and I think that this works hand in hand with what we're trying to do and accomplish in that area. And I'm thankful that these developers are coming in, and I'm thankful of their proposal because I think it's going to be state of the art. They have adequate parking for off-street parking. It meets all the criteria that neighborhoods would want. But the most important thing is the aesthetic value to all their properties will be enhanced so much, it's unbelievable. So I look forward to going to zoning subcommittee, but I will be voting favorably when it comes out of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any councilors wish to speak? Councilor Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, my packet doesn't have a copy of the exterior of what it's going to look like. Is there if you don't mind?
If you can
I'm a
look,
visual person.
Can you look in the
maybe
email?
it is in here.
The Madam Clerk sent some of the pictures of what it's supposed to be look like. I think she sent that on Thursday.
Okay, it might be in my email, but that's great. No worries. I assume. Yeah, it's going to go to zoning anyway, so no worries.
Yeah, if you just look back, you'll probably find it. I think that probably was omitted, but then she sent the email to us on that.
Just interested in what the exterior is.
Here it is, right here.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that. And this matter will be referred to zoning on October 5th at 5 p.m. All in favor? So ordered.
Calendar item number 4, hearing called is ordered on the application of Sandra Tapia, 57 Chamberlain Ave, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to operate a kennel at 100 VFW Parkway.
Hi, I see we have Ms. Tapia on.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
Thank you for your time. So I'm looking to set up a training facility at 100 BFW. It is going to be a training / daycare facility. So I do require a kennel license because with some of the training for behavioral issues, you do require to overnight the dogs. I am keeping it at capacity of 40 dogs maximum for daycare and maximum of 10 dogs on the overnight. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. And this being a public hearing, we're going to open it up to any proponents first in the audience. Any proponents, feel free to use the raise hand function. Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. And, we do have one person. So let me allow Ms. Rose. Ms. Rose has their hand raised.
No. Hello? Can you hear me?
Are you speaking on as a proponent or as an opponent?
Well, I'm just trying to find out, is there adequate parking spaces for 40 people to be dropping off their dogs every day there?
Okay, so, sure. Name and address for the record, and I just, we can...
Wayne Rose.
Wayne Rose?
19 Thorndike Street.
Okay, great. So, we just closed it. We can ask that question. Ms. Tapia, would you have parking facilities at I see the property, it's VFW Parkway.
Correct.
Obviously, I'm sure 40 dogs wouldn't be dropped at the same time. How many parking spaces are going to be at that address?
There's actually 12 parking spaces assigned to me, And correct, there would not be 40 cars coming at the same time. There'll be different drop-offs because there's both long days and short days available.
Okay.
So, and we'll also be doing a lot of pickups ourselves.
Thank you. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Wayne?
No, thank you. That was my only question, Patrick. Thank
All
you.
right, appreciate it. All right, and this is opened up to any opponents in the audience. Feel free to use the raise hand function. Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that side of the hearing. Any councilors wishing to speak? Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seeing as how this is in my ward, I took the occasion to go down there and look at the area around the proposed center, and there certainly is adequate parking. As a matter of fact, I believe that people coming in there, for the most part, will be, have an appointment to have their dog trained or whatever they do. I think there are so many people in this city that have dogs. I think this is a great thing because, people are always looking for places to take a dog that may be going away for a while or they want to train the dog. But above and beyond that, Ms. Tapia, I have witnessed for many, many years in her little profession she has down in the Point of Pines, walking dogs for residents down there. I think it's a great service. I mean, a lot of people, they go to work in the morning and they need some place like that to keep their dog. And it's nothing new to the area. There was this is adjacent to Wonderland. There was a kennel down there up till probably, 4 or 5 years ago. And as far as dogs being there, I think we probably had over 150 dogs every night of racing down there. So it's nothing new to the area. And again, this is a young lady that has been a Pines resident, her and her family, for many, many years. And I have every expectation that if this license is granted to her, she'll do an excellent job down there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambuto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Full disclosure, I've known Sandy a long time, and she has a stellar reputation, and I'm certainly in favor of this use. I'm going to want to ask a lot more questions at the zoning subcommittee. However, I think it's a good use. I think it's needed, and I couldn't think of a better place for it. So that's where I stand on it, and we'll talk more about it in the zoning subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had the pleasure of speaking with Sandra. I don't know Sandra, but she comes with high praises from other people. I guess she's had her dog walking business for a while, and she got stellar reviews. And this is a great location. I mean, she's going to have the dogs out in the back, and I think it abuts the railroad tracks. So I don't think you're going to hear anything. There's no residents around there, so I think it's a great fit, and I think it's a great location. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And Councilor Guanasso.
I'm going to say the same, Mr. President. Obviously, I think it's a great location. She comes with high credentials. People think a lot of her as a person, so I know she'll care for the dogs as well. She has a history in it. And I say that the location couldn't be any better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And likewise, when Councilor Zambuto speaks praise on someone that has to do with animals, I take that into heavy consideration. But I too have gotten, and I don't know you, Ms. Tapia, but I've gotten good responses from people reaching out on your behalf. But again, the city of Revere, you see more people have pets out there right now, which is really nice. I mean, I have a pet, and I know some of my colleagues have pets. There's definitely more need in the city where I think there's only one active kennel. So it's good to have that you want to do this as a legitimate business and you're going about it the right way, so we appreciate that. This matter will be referred to the zoning subcommittee on October 5th. All in favor? So ordered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 5, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Janine Mara to the Human Rights Commission.
Further appointments? All in favor? So ordered.
Calendar item number 6, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Jalen Fowler to the Human Rights Commission.
Refer to appointments? All in favor?
Calendar item number 7, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Kathy Reinstein to the Human Rights Commission.
Refer to appointments? All in favor?
Calendar item number 8, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Chaima Mansour Hosseini to the Human Rights Commission.
Refer to appointments. Council Ganasso.
Mr. President, for information of the people watching and for the city council, the appointment subcommittee will meet at 4:30 on Monday evening.
So for all of you, appointment subcommittee, the wonderful commissioner will be discussing those appointments. All in favor? So ordered.
Calendar item number 9, communication from resident Rafael Feliciano relative to job preferences for Revere residents.
Madam Clerk, would you like to read that into the file? Or? Councilors, did you receive the communication from Mr. Feliciano? Would you care to have it read, or do you? Okay. Placed on file? Thank you.
Calendar item number 10, motion presented by Councilors McKenna, Janino, and Serino that the mayor instruct the Traffic Commission in consultation with the parking clerk to amend the regulations governing the new citywide overnight parking program to allow all residents whose vehicles are registered in the city of Revere and who pay motor vehicle excise taxes to the city of Revere be eligible to receive an overnight or permanent parking sticker, provided the resident does not live in a residential building in which parking variances have been previously granted by the city.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've got a number of calls for the parking, especially in my ward, because my ward, half of it is permit parking. But, and I'm going to take all three. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Chairwoman, I'm sorry. I'm going to take all three, and we can have Councilor Janino and Councilor Serino speak on this. But what's happening, I'm finding out, is that people that are living on state roads, like like have the DCR and the MDOT that take care of it, they can't get parking stickers, and they're paying excise taxes in Revere, and they're registered in Revere. And I just don't think it's fair. Like, for instance, a great example is Revere Beach Parkway. We have single-family houses there. They can't get stickers, overnight stickers, because it's run by Mass DOT or DCR. So I just don't think it's fair if you're paying excise taxes and you're living in a state road is governed by the street that you lived on, and you can't get a sticker. I just don't think that's fair.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank
McKenna.
you.
I know Councilor Janino wants to speak on this, and then Councilor Serino, and then we'll open it up to the rest of the council. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you to my colleague, Councilor McKenna, for putting this in on our behalf. I think that it's really important and something we should look at. And I know when the City Council first reviewed and put this to the mayor's office, there are things that were added and removed and changed from what the original recommendation of the council was. And I believe this is one of those. So love to get more information on it. And thank you to my colleagues for putting it in.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Serino.
Thank you, Mr. President, and through you, thank you, Councilor McKenna, for putting this motion in. I obviously wasn't on the City Council last year when the council enacted the resident parking ordinance, but I too have received calls, not so much for Ward 6, because it's not impacting Ward 6 as much as on Revere Beach Boulevard and Malinway, where residents, just some friends of mine, have called and expressed concerns. I know someone who lives, on Revere Beach Boulevard, and her and her husband pay excise tax to the city. And I'm sorry, that's my dog. Obviously, I'm talking. So, but the resident and her husband pay excise tax, and they have family in the Point of Pines where they dog sit for, and they should. You know what, Mr. President, I'm just going to let Councilor Janino and Councilor McKenna speak on this. Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I called Jim Rose the other day in reference to Revere Beach, and Revere Beach is exempt, so anyone could park on a Revere Beach. They don't even need a sticker.
Thank you for the clarification. Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a matter of fact, I had a call early this evening, and I tried to explain to the person that, and they're concerned, they have a right to be concerned, that we don't control state highways. We can advise, we can request, but we don't have any direct control over them. And I think this is a matter that certainly would fall upon the legislature and the governor. I'll give you an example. On the Linway, there are probably 8 or 9 one-family residences, okay? They have people parking there all the time now, but what the problem is going to be is when, in fact, the resident parking is done for the Point of Pines, and I'm hoping it will be soon, that you're going to have people that maybe have a guest or something that's going to want to come over and park on the Linway, and I don't think that's a bit fair to the residents on the Linway. But it's something that's going to happen. So I agree with Councilor McKenna 100%. There are state roads. I'll give you an example. The Jack Satter House. They don't have enough parking down there now. There are people who park on Oak Island Street that are residents of the Jack Satter House. And I think it's important that where these people are, particularly these people are elderly, and they certainly need that parking down there. So I think this whole project has to be, once it's in place, revisited. I mean, there are people that, again, as I said, live in the Satter House. They've probably shot a dozen or 2 dozen spaces, and they've been parking on Oak Island Street. But that needs to be corrected, and I hope that the Traffic Commission will hear our call. I hope that DCR will hear our call. Mass DOT and the legislature and the governor will also look at this carefully, because those people do have a right. They're taxpayers. They pay excise taxes. They have a right to a parking space. And it's our duty and responsibility to make a parking space available for them. They're like us. They're residents. They have a right. And I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that that right is granted to them, and that we look at this very carefully. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Any other councilors? Councilor Orbito and then Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also received many calls from constituents, so I'm grateful for my colleagues to put this motion forth. I also, if the President will give me some leeway for a point of information as well, I had a situation with a constituent, an emergency situation, where her son was taking time off from college to take care of her because she's in chemo, but his car was registered at college. And I want to give accolades to Director Jim Rose, because he really went above and beyond by accommodating her and showing her the guidelines and what she has to do in this emergency situation. So for those of you who are out there saying, well, what if there's an emergency situation arises? There is a caretaker permit that one can apply for in the parking department. So I did want to clarify that and thank Jim Rose for going above and beyond with kindness for this constituent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
I just want to add to my motion that these people that live on Revere Beach Parkway and Winthrop Parkway, they can't park on that street, but they can park on adjacent streets. So if they don't have a driveway and they can't get a sticker, they can park on an adjacent street. For instance, if a person lives on Winthrop Parkway, they can park on Broad Sound Ave. If someone lives on Revere Beach Parkway, they can park on Taft Street. So I really do think if you're paying excise tax to the city and your car is registered, then we should do the right thing and give them overnight parking stickers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Councilor Sereno. And I know there's a resident in the audience that wants to speak as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just through you to Councilor Powers, I read the ordinance over, and I guess my biggest question or concern is, what the methodology was behind which residential units got or which buildings got parking permits and which didn't, because I believe the Jack Satter House, which is great, is actually entitled to parking permits, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Atlantica on the boulevard is also entitled to parking permits. So, I'm sure there was some sort of methodology, but like I said, I wasn't on the council, so I don't know, but I tend to agree with Councilor McKenna that if you pay excise tax to the city of Revere, you should be eligible for a parking sticker. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Sereno, if I can answer that. The apartment or the building restrictions were based on buildings that receive variances for parking. So they were not going to be given the kind of backdoor extra parking permits. That was kind of, if you're going to build a property and say that it's going to be trans-orient development or not be supposed to have a lot of vehicles, that was the variance granted to have less parking, and then to give them street parking would have been probably counterproductive. So that's where that came from. Now, unfortunately, you go back 30, 40, 50 years, some of these buildings, they weren't thinking about that when the building developers built them or bought them many years ago. They were just like, it's not a big deal. And of course, they're going to pay that price now, which is, it's unfortunate, but unfortunately, they got that deal then, so they're making out on it some way or another now. But it's not helping them with current parking. Councilor Powers, and then we're going to go to the audience.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have looked over the list very thoroughly, and my understanding looking at the list is that buildings over 6 units would not be eligible for parking stickers. Now, given that said, I think that all of these areas will have to be tweaked. You can't say that Ward 6 doesn't have enough parking, okay? I think Ward 1, you could say, doesn't have enough parking. I could say certain areas and other sections of the city don't have enough parking. And again, I know there are a lot of people out there that are anxious. They're worrying where they're going to park, if they have guests for dinner, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, again, that's something that this city council, along with the Traffic Commission, which has the jurisdiction over parking in the city, not the city council, but I think we have to work with the Traffic Commission to ensure that anyone that's paying an excise tax or has a car registered in this city is taken care of the best way we can. And that's something that I intend to work very hard to achieve. Okay? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. And we have a resident in the audience. I believe it's Wayne Rose, but name and address for the record.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street.
Hi, Wayne.
So my question is, with all the bars and restaurants in our city, what does that do for their businesses? All of them don't have off-street parking, and I know that I've gone out a couple of times and I've had to leave my car and call Uber. Will these people be ticketed for leaving their cars, or are we encouraging these people to drive drunk to take their cars home?
Well, I would, if I can answer that, I would certainly not think that the city's encouraging people to leave an establishment under the influence and drive their vehicle. But, if you're talking about a neighborhood bar, there's also, you got to think about, you got to take into consideration the homeowner or the people that live there. They want to, you leave work. The whole reason for the overnight parking ordinance is the last thing you want to do as a homeowner or someone that lives at a residence not be able to go home at 9, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and find a spot in front of their house or somewhere close by, right? This is the whole intent of the program, so that people aren't using their homes for rooming houses, overcrowding their homes and having 7, 8 vehicles come out of a one-bedroom apartment, and/or taking advantage of the limited stock of street parking. So, I know that
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, most food establishments and liquor establishments close prior to 12 o'clock midnight. But what I'm saying is, I think if we start attacking the program that we worked for over 5 years, by watering it down, we have to really draw back. Let the program take its place. And then we have a little meeting with people and organize. But to keep watering it down, and it sends it to a point where we're defeating the whole purpose that we intended. I think after midnight is opportunity enough for people to get away from a private area's home, or let people park where they live. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. And on that note, I couldn't agree more with you. We do, and this goes to the council because we brought it up. This has been in discussion for 5 years. We actually had meeting upon meeting here in the council chambers with current and former parking clerks. We've discussed a lot. That's the debate stage. We had the debate. Now we're implementing. We haven't fully implemented. We're in the middle of implementing. I think before we make adjustments, we need to really let the dust settle. Obviously, if there's emergency caretakers and things like that, of course we have a mechanism for that. There's a caretaker application. There's special circumstances that we're not going to turn a blind eye on a resident of need. We never do. That's not in our DNA. But we have to be smart enough to let this happen, let it play out, and then make the adjustments down the road. So thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna will accept this motion and obviously motions forward. And I think that Mr. Rose will take these into consideration. But I think the best thing that we can do right now is to let this process move forward and then make the adjustments later. All in favor? So ordered.
Mr. President, point of
Councilor
information, I'd like to take up 13. I know 10, and we did 10 and 11, but I'd like to take up 13 or 14. I don't know the numbers because they got switched, so.
13 was mine, but correct. So you're probably going 11 and 12?
No, I think mine's the last motion. It's about 77 Bennington Street.
All right, Councilor, 14?
Yeah, 14. Thank you.
Yeah, do you want to go in order, or is there a reason for suspension?
No, I asked in the beginning because I wanted to combine them, but
apologize.
now I want to definitely talk about 14. Thank you.
Okay. Request suspension of rules, Councilor McKenna?
If that's fine, yeah, definitely.
All in favor of suspension of rules? Madam Clerk?
Calendar item number 14, motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to allow the residents of 77 Bennington Street to be eligible to participate in the resident parking program. Historically, this development was eligible for resident parking stickers and is located approximately 600 yards from the Beachmont T-Station.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So 77, so we've had, for the last 5.5 years, we've had permit parking on Bennington Street. And I think there's about maybe 4 or 5 houses, and then there's 2 complexes. And that's it. Across the street is the Beachmont School. You can't park there because of the buses. 77 Bennington Street was built in the 1970s. It doesn't have ample parking. It did have stickers. It's 600 yards away from the T-station. There are residents that own condos there that don't have parking, that rely on street parking. And this has been going on for almost 6 years now. So I wanted to see if we could make an exception for 77 and 145, because those are the 2 complexes that have had always permit parking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McKenna. Any other councils? Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. To Councilor McKenna, are you saying that they don't have residential parking now down there?
They didn't get stickers, and they've had stickers for the last 6 years because that is permit parking. Bennington Street is permit parking, but they were denied because they're multi-complex. I don't know how many units there are in there, but they don't have
Well, I know
ample parking.
It's 5 floors, I believe, and it's extremely close to the MBTA station. And I would suggest that that was the reason that they had permit parking previously, because of the proximity to the MBTA station. And I would hope that myself that, and I don't live in there, I don't live in the ward, obviously, but I know the area, and I think it would be incumbent upon the city to make this area go back to it's not something new. They had resident parking before. I have resident parking where I live. And the reason I have that is because of the proximity to Wonderland Station. And it's well intended and it's well needed. So again, I would hope that that could be addressed for the people that live in that building. The other building I'm not familiar with, but I am familiar with that building. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Any other councilors? And a resident wishing to speak?
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street, Revere, Mass. Again. My question is, will this open up, if you guys do this, will it open up other complexes to try to do the same thing? Because once you open the door, everyone else is going to want this themselves.
Thank you. Good question. So, fellow councilors, again, I would just kind of stress the importance of, maybe we can have a separate conversation. I know we've asked Mr. Rose to come in front of us and talk a little bit more about the program, but there's going to be a lot of special circumstances, and this makes a good point. We do it for one, we're going to end up doing it for a lot. And I don't want to take away people's parking rights, but at some point along the road, they knew what they were getting themselves into. Building the property where it was, building it with not enough adequate parking, or buying a parcel. I mean, listen, I bought my house and I knew what I was buying. I said, I'm buying a house and I have a certain amount of parking spaces. That's why I'm buying it. And I didn't buy my house in an area. I didn't because I don't like the parking situation. I said, I don't like it. It's just like the same reason why when people move to Boston, they go, I want to live in Southie. I want to live in the North End. It's a problem to park there. They know what they're getting themselves into. At some point, when people come to rent in Revere or they come to buy in Revere, if the parking structures, the mechanisms are in place, they're going to know. Now, right now, it's going to be a sticker shock for some people. But I hate to say it, a lot of these buildings that were built, they knew what they were doing. So pay now, pay later. That's the way it goes in life. And unfortunately, they didn't want to pay before. So some of them are going to pay now. Doesn't mean I want to hurt them, but we have to get this in place because we're inundated with parking problems. All right? But all in favor of Councilor McKenna's motion? So ordered. Return to regular business. All in favor?
Calendar item number 11, motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor requests the Traffic Commission to provide for overnight resident parking stickers for residents whose residential addresses are listed as Revere Beach Parkway. These residents are paying excise tax to the city and should be able to park on adjacent streets.
Councilor McKenna.
I think I addressed that, so we're all set.
Gotcha. All in favor?
Calendar item number 12, motion presented by Councilor Novoselsky that the mayor request the appropriate city department to provide new lighting on the pedestrian overpass behind the Garfield School. The old lights and wiring are all rotted. This request is made in the interest of public safety.
Councilor Novoselsky is not with us tonight. He is celebrating Yom Kippur, I believe. And I wanted to apologize that we had a meeting tonight on Yom Kippur, but also wanted to thank him and wish him a happy Yom Kippur and the rest of the residents of the city. But we can probably act on his motion. Any councilors? Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. being a resident who grew up in Ward 2 and knowing that area familiar, I'm going to say a few things. And I recently walked on that path last week, and I noticed the lighting was horrible, and the wiring just looked like a danger hazard. So I commend my colleague for putting this through, and I hope my fellow colleagues will vote in favor of this.
Thank you. And it looks like we have a resident wishing to speak. Mr. Rose.
Wayne Rose again, 19 Thorndike Street. I think that's long overdue. Thank you, Ira.
Thank you. All in favor, councils? So ordered.
Calendar item number 13, motion presented by Councilor Keefe that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to review the no parking regulation in front of the McKinley School. Removal of this regulation would provide for additional on-street parking.
Any councilors? So as you know, the former McKinley School that is now not active has a large yellow stripe running the length of the front. It doesn't make sense to have no parking there right now, considering it's not an active school. If the school ever comes back, or some sort of use in the project comes back, certainly I would advocate to have no parking there. But right now, I think the residents, it'll add to the parking stock. All in favor? So ordered.
And one late communication from John V. Festa, 385 Broadway, requesting that the Revere City Council accept a donation of certain parcels of land for conservation purposes on Naples Road and Naples Road Passageway.
Any councilors?
Looking forward to seeing the information. I just received that late communication, so I don't know first thing about it, so.
Gotcha. Would this be legislative zoning? All in favor to put this in zoning? So ordered. Thank you. No further business. Our next meeting will be October 5th, and of course, there'll be a couple subcommittees that day. Want to thank everyone again, and happy Yom Kippur. Motion to adjourn.